Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, also known as BMR. It's Friday. It's July 7th. Typically, I do the subscriber encounter story or email encounter story. But, there's a lot of times, too, as you guys know, I'll come across some information that I like to present to you guys. And I find this to be fascinating. There's a couple things I find fascinating about this. One, this is a report that I found on Bigfoot Live. Not a lot of information there, but this article is over 20 years old. And at the end of this, I'm going to pose everybody a question, especially if you are Bigfoot enthusiasts or researchers, or if you are experiencers. There's something a little unusual I found about this, and I will pose that question at the end of the video. This is not a very long narrative, but it's something I want everybody to listen to and think about, because the question, I'd like everyone to leave a comment. Secondly, thank you to everybody for subscribing to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. I appreciate each and every single one of you. You're the reason why I do this. I love doing this, and I love presenting everything to you. Thank you for that. Don't forget, on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock in the East on my channel is Beyond BMR. Thursdays at 1 o'clock in the East, BMR and Krista with Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And yes, don't forget, the Super Thanks is open if you care to donate and help support the channel. I appreciate that. Again, this is over 20 years old, and there are some prominent people, researchers, professors in here that you're all familiar with. Some you might like better than others, but hey, that's your prerogative, that's your opinion. I'm going to go on with this, and again, please leave me your thoughts at the end of the video. Idaho State University researcher coordinates analysis of body imprint that may belong to a Sasquatch. This is in Pocatello, and you know where that is as the home of Dr. Jeff Meldrum. He is the Associate Professor of Anatomy and Anthropology at Idaho State University. He's a member of a scientific team examining, this is 23 years ago, examining a plaster cast of what may be the first documented body imprint of a Sasquatch. The imprint of what appears to be a large animal's left forearm, hip, thigh, and heel was discovered September 22nd in a muddy wallow near Adams in southern Washington State by a Bigfoot Research Organization team member. This is in Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Again, September 22nd, some 23 years ago. The investigating team, including Meldrum, Dr. Grover Krantz, very well known, retired physical anthropologist from Washington State, Dr. John Bindernagel, another very prominent researcher, Canadian wildlife biologist John Green. Again, these are big shooters, you guys, big hitters. Retired Canadian journalist and author Dr. Ron Brown, exotic animal handler and health care administrator. They all examined the cast and agreed that it cannot be attributed to any commonly known Northwest animal and may represent an unknown primate. Meldrum, whose research includes comparative primate anatomy and the emergence of human walking, supervised careful cleaning of the cast and will coordinate its analysis by a scientific team. He first became actively interested in the question of the existence of a North American primate after examining fresh Sasquatch, properly called Bigfoot tracks, in 1996. While not definitively proving the existence of a species of North American hominid, the cast constitutes significant and compelling new evidence that will hopefully stimulate further serious research and investigation into the presence of these primates in the Northwest Mountains and elsewhere, says Meldrum. Again, I find this so interesting to read this, being 20 plus years old. I find the writing fascinating comparatively speaking to today in 2023. Dr. Leroy Fish, a retired wildlife ecologist, I can't read today, from Triangle's Lake, or with a doctorate in zoology from Washington State University. Derek Randles, a landscape architect from Belfair, Washington, and Richard Knoll, a tooling meteorologist from Edmonds, Washington, discovered the cast and the partial body imprint during the expedition. More than 200 pounds of plaster were needed to produce the 3.5 by 5 foot cast of the entire impression, which was reinforced with researchers. They used aluminum tent poles. Other Sasquatch evidence documented in the expedition includes voice recordings and indistinct 17-inch footprints. Trace evidence attributed to Sasquatch is usually footprints, but impressions of other body parts, including hands, knuckles, and buttocks, have occasionally been found, never reported. This unique instance of a partial body impression provides further insights about the elusive creature and his anatomy. Preliminary measurements indicate his body dimensions are 40 to 50% greater than that of a 6-foot tall human being. After the cast was cleaned, extensive impressions of hair in the buttock and thigh surfaces and a fringe of longer hair along the forearm were even more evident. Meldrum identified what appeared to be skin ridge patterns on the heel, comparable to fingerprints that are characteristics of primates. The ridge characteristics are consistent with other examples from Sasquatch, those same footprints that Meldrum has studied in collaboration with Officer Jimmy Chilcutt, a latent fingerprint examiner with the Conroe, Texas Police Department. The anatomy of the heel, ankle, and Achilles tendon are also distinct and consistent with models of the Sasquatch foot derived by Meldrum after examining hundreds of alleged Sasquatch footprints. Hair samples collected at the scene and from the cast itself and examined by Dr. Henner Fahrenbach, a biomedical research scientist from Beaverton, Oregon, were primarily of deer, elk, coyote, and bear, as was expected, since tracks in the wallow were mostly of these animals. However, based on characteristics matching those of otherwise intermediate primate hairs in collection in association with other Sasquatch sightings, he identified a single distinctly primate hair known in his mind to be that of Sasquatch. Goes on to say the Sasquatch is a species of North American ape suspected to inhabit the mountainous forests of the Northwest. Its existence remains controversial despite numerous eyewitness sightings and the discovery of enormous footprints. Now, first of all, you guys got to remember this is 20 years ago. I'm not a fan of using ape. I don't associate ape with Bigfoot 1. Most of you already know that. And a couple of these things to me are dated. But here's the question I pose that I find to be very fascinating about this. First of all, after I read this article, I tried to find a photo of this casting, right? Certainly we can find footprints all over the internet. But how come and why is it so hard for me to find an impression or the picture of the impression on the web? I'm sure it's out there, but why is it so hard to find? Do they, and when I say they, ABC people, the government, do they not want this to be something active on the internet? You got to remember, this was 20 years old. Why is this not something that's on the internet? How come I haven't seen it? I've been doing this for 5 years. A lot of you listening right now have been studying this for longer than 5 years. I find it odd. I'm sure this picture's got to be out there. Why is it so difficult to find? If you can find it, please leave it in a comment. What do you think? Why do you think? First of all, do you believe a casting even exists? I happen to think it does. A lot of prominent people I rattle off there. A lot of great researchers. Some I like more than others. But how come this is so hard to find? I'd love to see this. If you guys have found this and know about this and say, hey, Rob, man, you're out to lunch, it's all over the internet. Well, I haven't found it. I don't know why that is. I hope you enjoyed that. Next week, I'm going to be coming back with another encounter story from a subscriber. But every once in a while, I like to drop something that I find to be interesting, that I think that you guys would find interesting. Let me know if you like this. It's Friday, July 7th. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to have a great weekend. And until next time, I am Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Please subscribe if not already. The Super Thanks is available. You have a great weekend. Until next time, BMR, and I'm out.